Welcome to another weekly staff meeting. I'm Shannon Reese. Sorry about the late upload today, but I just got back from a conference and I'm actually really tired. You know, there are pros and cons about attending a conference. Let's talk about that. So educational conferences are designed to give you more information, give you ability to connect with people, and are supposed to be beneficial. But there are pros and cons of attending a conference. I just recently attended the Pacific Northwest Council for Languages conference in Seattle. And if you ask me, was it worth it? Absolutely, it was worth it. But there are cons. So let's talk about those first. The first con is cost. It costs money to go to conferences. If you're lucky enough that the conference is even in your town or in your city, you still have to pay for the conference itself, and they're not cheap. Usually they're in the hundreds of dollars. So you have to factor that in. If you're also lucky enough that you live in a district that will pay for your professional development, then you don't have to worry about that cost. But you still have to go through the steps to be able to get that paid for. Another one is obvious. It's going to take time. You're going to have to take time off. Again, if you're lucky enough that your district will pay for your time off, that would be great. But most of the time, I end up taking personal leave days, so that way I can go and attend conferences. Another con is that you have to plan for your absence. Creating sub-plans isn't always the easiest thing. Depending on where you're at, like in your unit or in your quarter, it can be really difficult to plan. And as we all know as teachers, it's always harder to be gone from your class than it is to be actually there. And the last con that I see is just energy. I'm no spring chicken, and I don't have a lot of energy left at the end of the day to do extra things. A conference can go an entire day and then even into the night, well past my bedtime. How do I come up with the energy to be able to survive that? Well, you just power through it. And then the day you get back, like today, I'm just really exhausted. So I usually spend the entire day sleeping, lounging around, trying to get that energy back. But is it worth it? Yeah, so let's talk about some of the pros. The number one pro for attending an educational conference is you get to experience new learning. If you ever feel as a teacher that you don't need new learning, you're probably on the wrong track. You need to be able to continue your learning and continue growing in your craft. And the only way you can do that is to expose yourself to new ideas. Learning conferences, educational conferences, are a good way to do that. Especially if you have a professional goal about some certain subject, you might be able to find sessions that go right with that professional goal. Another pro is collaboration. You get to collaborate with all these different kinds of teachers from all over the nation, or all over your region, or all over your state, and you'll have time to do that during lunches or during meals, in between sessions, and it's really exciting to be able to hear viewpoints from other people. And who knows, maybe you'll end up making a new friend. Which brings me to my next pro, and that's making connections. Making connections with people in your same content area is really, really beneficial because you never know when you run into something that you're not exactly sure how to do something, or you want more information about something, and now you have somebody else that you can email or you can call, say, hey, I need some help with this. And as a language teacher, if anybody ever emails me and they say, hey, I was at that one conference and I met you, do you have any ideas for this? I am more than willing to help them out. And I'm excited because then I get to make that new connection again. Another pro is when you go to these conferences, there's always going to be vendors there and they're giving away a ton of free swag. So you can come home with a fistful of pens, a bunch of stickers, some sticky notes, and who knows what else. You might also see some really cool things that they're selling, new books, new technology, and it's really neat to see all those vendors. And the last thing I'm going to talk about as a pro is travel. If the conference is somewhere else besides your town, you get to travel to a new town. I went to Seattle this weekend, and I had never been to Seattle. So I got to go and experience what it's like to be in Seattle at the University of Washington, which is an absolutely beautiful place. And I did get to spend about an hour and a half downtown when everything was over, and I walked around the Space Needle, did a little geocaching, got to experience a little bit of travel that way. When I went to the Central States Conference when it was in Minneapolis, that was several years ago, I actually made a point to rent a car so that I could drive out to Chanhassen, Minnesota, so I could get my picture in front of Paisley Park, where Prince lived. That was something that was on my bucket list because I've been a Prince fan for a long time. So I had a little extra time in the afternoon after everything was done, and I decided I'm going to travel and do something like that as well. So you could find something that might interest you in the city that you're going to. So what do you guys think? What are some pros and cons that I may have missed? Leave a comment down below, and while you're down there, click the subscribe button and hit that bell so you won't miss the next weekly staff meeting.